Maldives are known as a tropical paradise for their beauty, especially from the tropical island. The population of Maldives are used 543,636. Maldives residents are called as Maldivians and the main religion practice is Sunni Islam. Unlike other countries, Maldives has two major banks which are the Bank of Maldives, BML, which is a national bank, and Maldives Monetary Authority MMA as the central bank. Maldives currency use Maldivian rupiah (MVR) as their standard unit. The national income of tourism was the largest industry in Maldives as it is the main industry and tourists look forward to have a vacation in Maldives. However, even Maldives becoming a developing country, they still facing and struggling with inflation and unemployment.
Now, let me explain about the pattern of inflation and unemployment for the past 15 years ago in the Maldives. Inflation is a continuing rise in prices caused by an increased money supply and demand for goods and fall in the purchasing value of money. The categories in the consumer price index that have in every country were housing, water, energy, foods, and beverage. Also, health and education are also included in the table. Since 1978, the Maldives has followed a policy of foreign involvement. This is the graph of percentage inflation GDP data from 2005 to 2019. As you can see, this graph shows some ups and downs. In 2005, the graph went up until 2009 and decreased from 2011 to 2019. Next, unemployment. Unemployment means occurs when a person who is actively searching for a job is unable to find work. Unemployment is often used as a measure of the health of the economy. Like any other developed country, Maldives, which is a developing country, definitely has the issue of unemployment. Unemployment caused by lack of skilled workforce, reluctant to take low-status jobs, and most of the jobs being occupied by foreigners. This is the graph of unemployment from year 2005 to 2019. As you can see, this graph shows the percentage decreasing from 2005 to 2016. In 2017, the percentage of unemployment decreased, but in 2019 it starts to rise again. This causes many individuals losing their job and not being able to make a living.
Let's move on how Central Bank of Maldives, which Maldives Monetary Authority MMA, deals with inflation and unemployment. First of all, monetary policies are policies that are used by central bank. The objective is to control the money supply and achieve economic policy. In Maldives, they have two methods that they are used to overcome inflation and unemployment. The first one is open market operation. According to MMA, Central Bank of Maldives has two options, either buys or sells government securities and treasury bills within the open market to manage the money supply in Maldives. MMA overcome inflation by selling the securities and treasury to public to decrease the money supply price level and reduce purchasing activities by public. Second is minimum reserve requirement. Reserve requirement for local currency was to be made in the form of money on Maldivian rupiah deposits, but foreign currency to be made in the form of US dollar. According to Asian Development 2015, to overcome unemployment, MMA has lowered the reserve requirement to 25% from 20% to increase credit encouraged to offer more loan to public and businessmen. In 2006, inflation in Maldives has increased at 7.4%. It is because of a rising price by transport and communication. By that, Maldives has decided to increase the interest rate on several parts, such as saving account, term deposit, and personal loan, in order to have less purchasing power by the consumer and reduce the money supply in the economy.
Not just that, Maldives also used fiscal policy in order to overcome inflation and unemployment. Fiscal policy is to influence the demand by balancing between government, expenditure and taxation, and of course to achieve the economic and social objective. They also have two types of fiscal policy, which is contractionary and expansionary, that being practiced in Maldives. For inflation, Maldives used contractionary fiscal policy to decrease the demand to help reduce the rate of purchasing power by putting some limits on the flow of money in economy. In other side, Maldives will increase taxes for the price of goods and services to help tackle the inflation problem. For unemployment, expansionary fiscal policy is used by increasing their spending with raising disposable income through cut down taxes such as personal income taxes or payroll taxes. Maldives undergoes such a massive infrastructure expansion which the potential to transform the economy is quite high. For the past 15 years, which is in 2006, inflation rate of Maldives increased about 7.4%, while for unemployment also increased up to 3.04%. Maldives still using the same method to influencing the aggregate demand in the economy through taxation and government spending to overcome inflation and unemployment. Reducing public expenditure by boosting revenues and cutting in inflation spending will increase opportunities of jobs.
Okay, so now let's take a look on how this pandemic affect unemployment and inflation in Maldives. As we know, almost every country suffers unemployment, so does Maldives. When the government started to impose closing the border and restriction movement, tourists started to panic. So they postponed and some of them even cancelled their booking. So there's no income for those in tourism sector. Most chalet, hotel and resorts has been totally closed. Those in business industry also struggling because people can't go out during quarantine. So that leads to closing down their market, restaurant, and some of the business face bankruptcy. The rate of unemployment in March 2020 increased rapidly up to 71.8%, said the Ministry of Tourism. Not just that, aviation will also suffer because most airline companies can't be operating in result of travelling ban. This also affects the export and import activities. Fisheries are the main export for Maldives, and the demand of fish decreased by 46% from their main exporting country. Luckily, Maldives get to control their inflation during this COVID-19. The government take inflation seriously. Even the Ministry of Economic Development state that whoever sell at high price will be fined 100,000 Maldivian rupiah and could be subject to closing down their business up to 6 months. However, while the other products are at overpriced, the price of food in Maldives show contrast to overall price because of high demand since producing food costs a lot. The demand of food is high along when the COVID-19 cases increase and vice versa. Thus, Maldivians really hoping that this pandemic will end soon so that they can start operating and going through life back as normal.
And last but not least, we go to the last part, which is the impact of government stimulus package on national debt. Before the pandemic, Maldives' public debt are 3,623 million in 2018, an increase of 6.44% from 2017 of the GDP. Look at this graph, we can see the evaluation of the Maldives debt. It has risen since 2008 in terms of global debt. It was $885 million and also amounted to 38.96% of GDP. According to the last published data point, the Maldives per capita debt in 2018 is 7,026 per population, an increase of $996 from 2017. Maldives is now on number 144 on the list of responsibilities to GDP and 134 debts per capita. Since Maldivians suffers a lot during COVID-19, government has announced financial packages worth MVR 2.5 billion, including subsidies to help those who being affected. Government spends up to MVR 200 million to support health sectors as an honor of them for being a frontliner. Government also subsidizing about 40% of electricity bills and 30% of water bills for April and May. Not just that, the poor get to use the sparse land for agriculture free of rent for 3 years. Even the parliament agreed to cut their salaries by 20%. Most public sectors projects are put on hold and government decided to reduce unnecessary expenses by MVR 1 billion. During this pandemic, their debt became increased because they need to spend more money to help the people. The Maldives Monetary Authority, which is MMA, has decided to implement the following ways, which is introducing the necessary regulatory measures needed to allow for 6-month loan deferment repayment, but customer need to apply for it, and it will gradually reduce the minimum reserve requirement, which is MRR, from 10% to 5% to provide liquidity support to banks when required, as well as providing short-term credit facilities to financial institutions when required. In conclusion, we have learned that economy is very important to every country as it can affect inflation and unemployment to occur. Current statistics shows about 1.52% of inflation rate and 6.43% for unemployment of Maldives in 2020. If Maldives continue to show positivity in every aspect that help to grow the economy, Maldivians can also benefit to live peacefully without worry with lower cost of living.